Here's the correct way on how to care for your handbags and keep them in the best possible condition. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Celesta. We talk about all things luxury shopping and handbags. If you love those things, make sure to subscribe, hit that bell notification. I do post videos every week. So I did a video last week on buying your first designer handbag, recommendations I have, the process of like deciding how to pick, which one to pick, all the things. And if you missed that video, I'll leave it in the description box below. But this week, I wanted to walk through how to care for your handbag. I feel like it's very easy, especially when you're first starting out with your designer handbag, to not really know how to care for these items and keep them in the best possible condition. And I'm not saying that you necessarily need to baby your bag, because I definitely don't, but you also don't want to have it look like shit in like 2 to 3 years when they should be lasting so much longer than that. So I have a couple tips broken out in different categories, more kind of like the care and styling of it, storage, how to clean, and how to protect your bag. And let's just jump right into it. Okay, so starting with kind of care and styling, I feel like those kind of go hand in hand. Try to avoid wearing like dark colored clothes with a light colored bag unless you are sure that it will not get color transfer on it. I actually wore a very similar like all black outfit. It was from Love Bonito. I did it for a wedding and I wore a light colored Pelen bag, and when I got home I got color transfer all over that bag. So I know a lot of people talk about like dark jeans that like cause color transfer on light colored bags. It's not just jeans. That was a lesson learned. And also I've washed that several times at this point. Like I've worn it before and it still caused color transfer. So those are things to kind of keep in mind when you're deciding which bag to bring, especially if you are worried about color transfer. Vice versa, you can also get color transfer from the bag to your pants or to your clothes. I actually learned this recently because I was using my Demelier Midi New York and I was wearing it with white jeans and I ended up getting brown on the white jeans. And I was kind of shocked. I was like, I've never seen this before. So the way that I've been able to mitigate that is the jeans were fine. I cleaned them, stain remover, everything. But I did wipe the bag down and then I sprayed Carbon Pro on it, which I'll kind of talk about in a little bit. And that helped get rid of the potential for color transfer onto the clothes. You also want to check the weather before you're bringing out your bag. I think grained calfskin is a lot more durable than, for example, lambskin, suede, vachetta, which is like untreated leather. So you want to see what the weather looks like before you bring out your bag. It's just something to be cautious of. I think if you're caught in like a little bit of a sprinkle, it's not that big of a deal, but you definitely don't want to get your suede bag drenched in the rain. Lambskin's also a little bit harder as well. And then also, when you're out and about, do not put the bag on the floor. I think there's a saying, I don't know if it's like an Asian saying, but bag on the floor is money out the door. And I stand by that. Do not put the bag on the floor. You can get these like purse hooks I've seen. So I have them for certain bags, but not all of them. So you can hook them on the side of the table, but you do want to be careful with that because I have heard people like using the purse hooks, especially if they're sitting outside on the street and someone can just walk by and snatch their bag. So that's something to keep in mind. I typically, when I'm like dining out with my bag, I kind of scoot a little bit in front of my chair and then put the bag behind me on the chair. And usually it stays pretty safe there. Or if there's just like an extra chair next to me, then I'll put it there. But that's also something to keep in mind. Just be aware of your surroundings and like where you're taking the bag, where you're putting it, because the last thing you want is to just have your eyes off of the bag for, I don't know, 30 seconds, 5 minutes, and someone snatched it. Now let's move over to storage. I know we touched on this in the last video, and that was my biggest emphasis. Do not put your handbag in the box. This is for a wide variety of reasons. You can get mold on the bag because, especially if you live in a more humid environment, or even if you have like an ensuite bathroom or your bathroom and your closet are connected. I know a lot of newer apartments and things like that, they kind of combine, they put the bathroom and the closet together. And so that can cause additional moisture with your bags inside the box. In general, the leather needs to breathe. Even canvas as well, it will start to crack. And I know Louis Vuitton will not fix your bag, your canvas bag, if the canvas has cracked. So keep that in mind. In terms of storage, the recommended practice is in the dust bag, away from sunlight and moisture. I typically don't put every single bag in the dust bag because I'm constantly rotating my bags in and out, that they're kind of just away from sunlight, and I just leave them out. Not best practice. I'm just saying that's the way that I do it, just because of like filming and constantly rotating my bags, everything like that. I also take off all the straps from the bag and then I put them inside the bag, or if I can't take it off in general, I just tuck it in. So for my Chanel Kelly, the strap is inside the bag, so it's not just flopping around. It doesn't potentially indent the leather. I know that's very possible, especially with more delicate leathers like my Chanel Mini. With the chain, you can potentially indent the bag, especially if it's resting on its side, things like that. Especially with my lighter color bags, the metal can potentially discolor the bag. I've seen it a little bit on my Easy Pouch. It's very easy to get off, but that's also another reason why I usually take off the strap before I put it into the bag and like pack it up. You also want to keep your handbag standing upright. So you can see all of the bags are standing upright, or trying to at least. And then any bags that don't stand upright, I do have these hooks that I got off of Amazon. They're like, I think 20 bucks for 2 or something like that. And so they do have an adjustable arm. I try to put it as low as possible, so I really don't want the weight of the bag on the handles and the hanger. So it's hanging on it, but I usually put something underneath, so it's not actually putting the weight on the handle. I don't know if that makes sense, but I try to do that so the bag is standing upright, but it's not solely dependent on the handle, especially if you're leaving it over time. It can stretch out, the shape can kind of get misformed and things like that. But I also keep my bag stuffed. You don't need to get these expensive pillows and stuffing and things like that. I do know that, especially like Etsy and some Instagram sellers, they do sell little pillows and whatnot. You could just use packaging from random boxes and things like that, like the air bubble wraps. Those ones are great too. Or you can also get an organizer to help keep the shape of the bag and keep the inside of the bag clean as well. Now let's talk about cleaning the bag. How often you should do it. I get a lot of questions on how I clean my bag. I have been using this set from Havre de Luxe. I've been using it for the last 4 years or so. I typically clean my bags every 6 months, but it depends on which bags I'm using more than others. This set is nice because everything is in this one set, but I think there are other leather cleaners and conditioners out there. I've heard a lot of people also talk about the Coach leather cleaner and conditioner that people really like. In between cleanings, or if I happen to get color transfer or spill on it, I always bring these wipes with me. You guys know, especially if you watch like my vlogs and things like that, I always have the wipes because you never know what's gonna happen, and it's super easy to just wipe it down. Make sure the wipes don't have alcohol. These ones are nice because they're individually packaged, but you can also just get like water wipes and like a mini travel pack from Target, and that should do just fine as well. If your bag starts to smell, you can always stick like a dryer sheet inside. One time we were at happy hour and the never folds, kind of just like a big black hole. It just is open. As we were like eating, someone flung blue cheese into my bag, and thankfully I have an organizer for the bag. So I was able to take out the organizer, clean it out with the cheese, everything like that. But the bag still kind of smelled like cheese. So I just stuck a dryer sheet in the bag for a couple days and it's been fine. No damage, no harm done. It's not a big deal, but if you do feel like your bag starts to smell a little bit from blue cheese or whatever it is, you can always stick a dryer sheet inside. And the two materials I'm probably like most nervous about is suede and vachetta. So suede, you never want to get it wet. Do not use the cleaner, do not use anything on the bag other than brushing the bag. You do want to brush the bag in like an even stroke just to like, you know, keep it all in one piece. I don't have any like luxury designer suede bags, and that's for a reason. I don't want to get a suede bag and potentially ruin it. And then also with vachetta, I have a love-hate relationship with vachetta. It is a bitch to maintain because if you have oils on your hands, if you have water, if you sweat, literally anything, the bag will stain and darken over time. Even if you just leave it in the sun, it will darken over time. And so I have tried Carbon Pro to kind of prevent some of that. But in general, the best way to avoid that is not buying a bag with vachetta. And I know there's a lot of people that kind of liked the lived in, loved look. I personally want my bags to look as brand new as the day that I bought it to today because I know I take good care of my bags. So I want them to look as new as possible. And so with vachetta, just having it naturally darken over time, it is not going to look new, unfortunately. And so that's kind of my beef with vachetta. And in general, having untreated leather is just really, really hard to take care of, especially if you are just starting out in your like handbag journey collection and you're not really sure how to take care of these things. And last but certainly not least, you're going to want to protect your bag. I mentioned this a little bit. I've used Carbon Pro and I've used Apple Guard. Both of them will help prevent stains from your bag, a little bit of like water stains. It should be water resistant. I have like watched videos of people like spraying their shoes with like Carbon Pro and then like dumping a cup of water on it and the water's supposed to like glide right off. I spray the bags, but I'm not with that intention. I'm not like, oh yeah, now I'm gonna go outside and dump a cup of water on my bag, you know? Like if it happens, it happens. I'm glad I have the protection, but I'm not gonna go out of my way to like test the Carbon Pro to see if it works. You know what I mean? I believe you're supposed to keep up with the spray every 6 months. It doesn't mean the bag is indestructible after you sprayed on Carbon Pro. And you can still get color transfer on it. You can still get stains on it. It just is supposed to help a little bit. It's kind of like a just in case. I'm not doing it and then treating my bag like shit because I sprayed it with Carbon Pro. Does that make sense? And then the last thing is, especially if you're not using a bag every single day, like me, I typically rotate my bags. I always take everything out of the bag and then I do the same process where I put it back in the bag. I put the chain inside, you know, I need to wipe down any stains. It's a lot easier to get out stains, any spills, anything like that if you can catch it right away. And so when I was in the south of France, I noticed that one of my lip glosses spilled inside the Chanel Kelly as I was taking everything out, and it's so much easier to just wipe that down right then and there instead of waiting weeks, if not months, before noticing the stain and trying to get it out. And that applies to color transfer as well. It's so much easier to get out color transfer right then and there than it would be to get color transfer out even like 2 days later, a week later, and so forth. So just keep an eye on your investments. Try to keep them in the best condition as possible because you are paying good money for these things and it doesn't make sense to treat your bags like shit. I'm not saying that you need to continue to baby your bags and like keep them in a glass shelf and never use them and never touch them. I think you should definitely enjoy them, but just enjoy them with a little bit of protection. So you can have fun, you can enjoy them, but they still stay in the best condition possible. I hope this answers all of your questions. Let me know if there's anything else I didn't answer or if you have any other questions, but I'll leave another video for you guys here and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!